Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring the sources on a Japanese racehorse who built this undeniable legend. And, it wasn't through pristine, undefeated perfection. It was through a durability that, frankly, just defies biological logic.
Yeah, it forces a total reevaluation of how we measure greatness.
Yeah.
Because, in a sport like horse racing, brilliance usually burns out incredibly fast.
Oh, for sure.
You have these magnificent, hyper-tuned bodies, and they fail under pressure all the time. But what's fascinating here is exploring why sheer toughness, like the raw ability to just keep showing up, can actually forge a deeper, more unforgettable legacy than pure speed ever could.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really grasp the sheer willpower of this horse, her name is Ikuno Dictus.
She's born on April 16th, 1987, and mathematically, or genetically, I should say, she was engineered to be a superstar.
Royalty.
Absolute royalty in the Japanese racing world.
Yeah.
Her sire, meaning her father, was Dictus. Her dam was Dino Landing. And her broodmare sire, which is her mother's father, was Northern Taste.
And for those of you who aren't, deep in the bloodline weeds, Dictus and Northern Taste were massively successful imported stallions. I mean, they essentially built the foundation of modern Japanese breeding for the famous Shidai farm.
Right, so she's expensive. She is bred for explosive power.
But then, before she ever even sets foot in a starting gate, she develops a severe case of tendinitis in her leg. I read in the sources that euthanasia was heavily considered.
The fact that Ikuno Dictus survived the initial injury means she was basically operating on borrowed time from day one. Biologically, she shouldn't have been walking, let alone running.
But survival is one thing, right? Translating that survival into elite performance is what makes this feel like a glitch in the simulation. Because she doesn't just recover.
No, she explodes onto the scene.
Yeah. At age 2, under jockey Katsuichi Nishura, she debuts, and she wins. And then she goes to a race called the Phoenix Show, and she absolutely annihilates the field.
She wins in record time.
Record time.
It was this blinding flash of brilliance. For a brief moment, her genetics just took over. She looked exactly like the elite, untouchable prodigy that her Shidai farm pedigree suggested she would be.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because if this were a Hollywood movie, she'd ride that momentum straight to a championship.
Roll the credits.
Right. But instead, she enters the Kokura Sansai Stakes and puts in a completely disastrous performance. The magic just evaporates.
Poof, gone.
She finishes her 2-year-old season with 6 starts, but only those 2 early wins.
Which sets up a brutally difficult 3-year-old season for her. In horse racing, your 3-year-old year is your defining window.
That's the big one.
Yeah, that's when the spring classics happen. These are the equivalent of the Triple Tiara. They're restricted only to 3-year-olds. You literally only get one shot at them in your entire life.
And she is completely outclassed in them.
Entirely. She manages to improve slightly by the autumn, grinding out a few second and third place finishes. But she ends that crucial season with 7 races and absolutely 0 wins.
And then they completely lose their shot. They go on this epic slump. And the longer the slump goes on, the more you assume that first game was just a bizarre fluke.
Well, a 7-race losing streak for a horse with her elite bloodline is the kind of thing that ends careers.
Yeah, I would think so. And that brings us to her 4-year-old season, where that relentless work finally breaks it down. She starts with 3 more losses.
Keeping the streak alive.
Right. But then she wins the Coral Stakes. The slump is dead. And she follows that up by winning the Keihan High, which is her very first graded stakes victory. But the results aren't what I find most baffling here. It's the sheer punishing volume. In her 4-year-old season, Ikuno Dictus raced 12 times in just 9 months.
It's staggering. It really is.
And she wasn't just jogging at the back of the pack to collect a participation check either.
No, she was highly competitive. She placed second twice and third once in that grade-level company.
Which is crazy. You would assume her team would look at those 12 grueling races, pat her on the back, and send her to a luxury stable for a 6-month vacation.
You would think.
But her 5-year-old season arrives, and they somehow decide to lean even harder into the madness.
They do. They open the year with 6 straight losses. But by May, she wins an open class race, which is a tier just below the graded stakes.
Wait, by May, that means she raced 7 times in the first 4 months of the year.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is that this absurd, seemingly irresponsible workload is exactly what unlocked her absolute peak.
The sources refer to it as her summer explosion. She just goes on a tear.
And does she ever?
She wins the Kinko Show, a grade 3. She wins the Kokurakinen, another grade 3. Then she steps into the all-comers, also a grade 3, and she doesn't just win, she destroys the field. She actually breaks the race record previously held by Oguri Cap.
And we have to pause on that, because breaking a record held by Oguri Cap cannot be overstated.
He's a legend, right?
Oguri Cap is a mythic figure in Japanese racing, a total cultural icon. So erasing his name from the record books proved Ikuno Dictus was not merely some stubborn workhorse accumulating starts.
Right.
At her physical peak, she possessed blistering historic speed.
And this incredible summer run earned her a couple of nicknames. The first was the Summer Mare, because literally all 9 of her career wins came between May and September.
But her other nickname is the one that really cemented her legacy, the Iron Lady, a direct nod to Margaret Thatcher.
The Iron Lady.
Yeah. And she didn't just earn that by surviving the heat or running a million races. It was really about who she was running against.
This is perhaps the most crucial detail of her entire career. During that 5-year-old season, Ikuno Dictus did not run in a single filly-only race.
They threw her into the deep end, forcing her to constantly fight the strongest, most physically imposing male horses in the country.
And she was beating them.
She was.
Right after breaking Oguri Cap's record, she runs in the Minichio Kan, a grade 2. She's up against these massive stars like Daitaku Helios, the Nice Nature, and she beats Nice Nature.
It's incredible.
She finishes second only to Daitaku Helios. It's this insane run that actually earns her the title of Best Older Filly or Mare.
But look at the final tally of that 5-year-old season. 16 starts.
16.
16.
That is just, I can't even wrap my head around the logistics of it. So she goes toe-to-toe with the boys, takes literally 0 days off, and builds this terrifying reputation. As she enters her 6-year-old season, you'd think the miles would finally crush her, and honestly, it starts out looking like they did.
Yeah, her spring campaign is a disaster. She takes heavy, humbling defeats in the Nikki Show and the Tenno Show. It appeared that biology had finally caught up to the Iron Lady.
But then comes the Isudakinen. It's one of the biggest races of the year. The betting public looks at her recent parable finishes, looks at the miles on her legs, and completely writes her off.
They wanted nothing to do with her.
She goes off as the 14th favorite. But in the final stretch, the field shifts. An inside gap opens up along the rail, and she explodes through it, flying past almost everyone to finish second behind the defending champion, Yamanen Zephyr.
And that second-place finish isn't just a great underdog story. It is highly significant economically.
The curse was huge.
Massive. The prize money from the Isudakinen is huge. By finishing second, she surpassed her contemporary, the brilliant Daiichi Ruby, to become the highest-earning mare in the entire history of Japanese racing at the time.
I'm looking at her final stats, though, and I'm a bit hung up on one thing. So she retires at the end of her 6-year-old season. 51 starts, 9 wins, incredible durability.
Right.
But 0 grade 1 victories. In the history books, don't we usually relegate the non-champions to the footnotes?
Usually, yes.
So what does this all mean? If she never actually won the absolute biggest tier of race, doesn't that diminish her legacy compared to the flashier horses of her era who took home the grade 1 hardware?
That is a very common way to look at sports. But I would strongly argue the opposite in her case. Her legacy, her durability.
Because of the starts.
Yeah. Think about the economic reality you just mentioned. She out-earned Daiichi Ruby, who was a multiple grade 1 winner.
Oh, that's a great point.
How did she do it? Purely by showing up. By absorbing the punishment, staying sound, and constantly placing in the highest purse races against the toughest males in Japan.
Like at the Takarazuka Kinen.
Exactly. In the Takarazuka Kinen, she attacks from the very back of the pack and finishes second to Mijiro McQueen, who was widely considered the absolute emperor of Japanese racing at the time.
So she was right there with the best.
She didn't need to cross the wire first to prove her worth. She proved it by surviving a 51-start career and still possessing the closing speed to challenge a legend like Mijiro McQueen at the wire.
So she outlasted horses who were inherently faster than her simply because their fragile bodies broke down under the pressure and hers just refused to.
In the modern era, 51 starts at the highest levels of the sport is functionally impossible. It's not just rare. It is fundamentally contrary to how the sport operates today.
Well, that insane stamina apparently caught the eye of the emperor himself because her retirement features a pretty poetically perfect postscript.
It really does.
After retiring from the track, Ikuno Dictus became a broodmare. And during Mijiro McQueen's very first year at stud, the two of them were bred together.
And the sources specifically note that McQueen apparently, quote-unquote, liked her.
Ah.
The legendary king of stayers, meaning horses that excel at long distances, paired with the Iron Lady, two absolute titans of stamina and endurance.
I have to ask, did the foal end up being a champion?
Unfortunately, no. The resulting foal never became a successful racehorse, and actually, throughout her entire breeding career, which lasted until she was pensioned in 2006, Ikuno Dictus never produced a major star.
That's a shame.
It is. But from a narrative standpoint, that doesn't diminish the romance of the pairing. It showed the profound respect she commanded from everyone in the industry.
And she enjoyed an extraordinarily long retirement, too. She lived all the way until February 7th, 2019, passing away peacefully at the remarkable age of 32.
And to put that in perspective, a horse living to 32 is roughly equivalent to a human living well into their late 90s, or even past 100.
Wow.
It just proved that her iron constitution wasn't just a product of tough training. It was baked into her very cellular makeup until the very end.
I want you listening to reflect on that for a second. We live in a world that is deeply obsessed with the flashy overnight success.
Oh, completely.
We celebrate the prodigy who gets it right on the very first try and dominates instantly. But what is the value of building the quiet, unstoppable resilience of an Ikuno Dictus?
It's a different kind of greatness.
Exactly. What can you achieve in your own pursuit simply by refusing to break? The person who never takes a sick day might not have the flashiest highlight reel, but they are the one left standing when everyone else is tapped out.
She was never the flashiest. She didn't dominate headlines with Grade 1 trophies. But in a highly volatile sport where brilliant things disappear far too early, she represents the idea that sometimes pure, unyielding survival is the greatest victory.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.